the progress that Shedeur made while he was doing those practice at the end of practice and the meetings with you and everything?
No, I mean, I don't think you can quantify development. With all of our players, we have a development plan that we feel strongly about. And like I think I mentioned to you guys before, what's great about our young class, Shedeur in this case, our entire rookie class, is these guys want to get better.
Who do you give credit to if Shedeur Sanders does well? Because it gets murky. Do you give credit to
Shedeur? I will say this, though. Like, the Browns might have botched the evaluation. It's still very early in the Shedeur experience, but clearly he looks way better than Dylan Gabriel. They might have botched the evaluation. They might have prioritized things that may not have mattered, in the end. Whatever. It's pretty clear it's playing out that they made a mistake. With all that said, like, they might be doing a good job developing him. They might be behind the scenes. They might be decent at that. I know the track record is very murky. Like, we've gone through each and every quarterback, and we've had tons of calls week in and week out that Kevin Stefanski's not good at developing quarterbacks. Whatever, but we've seen sometimes they've had some successes.
Kevin Stefanski just held a press conference that has everyone talking, because when he was forced to address Shedeur Sanders' development and progress, you could see the discomfort in his body language as he admitted that Shedeur is making strides and that the coaching staff has a development plan they feel strongly about. But here's what nobody is talking about. Sources say Browns GM Andrew Berry was the one who forced Stefanski to publicly acknowledge Shedeur's growth after weeks of the coach trying to downplay it. Even more explosive, when Stefanski was asked point-blank to quantify the progress Shedeur made during all those practice reps and meetings, he refused to give a direct answer and instead went into generic coach speak about development plans. But when pressed about Shedeur's off-platform making ability, Stefanski finally admitted you never want to take that away from a player and said Shedeur has an ability to make plays off-schedule that they want to promote and enhance. But the most revealing moment came when a reporter asked about the crazy amount of criticism Stefanski is taking for pulling Shedeur off the field during that two-point conversion, and his defensive response, "Everything you do that doesn't work will be criticized," confirms that the pressure from ownership, the front office, and the fans is mounting, and Andrew Berry is reportedly making it clear that Shedeur Sanders will be starting against the Bears and every game after.
The progress that Shedeur made while he was doing those practice at the end of practice and the meetings with you and everything.
No, I mean, I don't think you can quantify development. With all of our players, we have a development plan that we feel strongly about. And like I think I mentioned to you guys before, what's great about our young class, Shedeur in this case, our entire rookie class, is these guys want to get better. I don't concern myself with outside type of things. But I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better. And that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
And did you, I'm sure you kind of answered this last night, but why didn't you keep him in for the 2 minute, or why did you decide to take him out?
Yeah, nothing more than decided to give Snoop some work at the end of the game.
Look, y'all need to understand what just happened in this press conference, because this wasn't just Kevin Stefanski doing his normal media rounds. This was a coach who's been backed into a corner by his general manager, by ownership, by the fans, and by the undeniable reality that Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback on that roster, and it's not even close. Let me break down what's really going on here, because if you listen to Stefanski's words carefully, and more importantly, if you pay attention to what he's not saying, you can see exactly how much pressure he's under right now. The press conference started with typical football talk about preparing for the Bears, dealing with the cold weather, all the standard stuff. But then a reporter asked the question that Kevin Stefanski has been trying to avoid for weeks. Can you quantify the progress that Shedeur made while he was doing those practices at the end of practice and all the meetings with you and everything? Now, this is a simple question, right? A reporter is asking the head coach to talk about his rookie quarterback's development. Any coach who's confident in his evaluation of a player would jump at the chance to give specific examples, talk about improvement in specific areas, highlight growth. But listen to Stefanski's response. No. I don't think you can quantify development. With all of our players, we have a development plan that we feel strongly about. I don't think you can quantify development. Y'all, that's not an answer. That's a deflection. That's a coach who doesn't want to give Shedeur Sanders specific credit for specific improvements, because doing so would expose how wrong he was about burying Shedeur on the depth chart for months. But here's where it gets interesting. Stefanski continues. What's great about our young class, Shedeur in this case, our entire rookie class, is these guys want to get better. And as coaches, as teachers, you have guys that are putting in all the effort to improve in a ton of areas, whether it's classroom, scheme, technique, footwork, hand placement, etc., etc. I think all these guys are making strides just because they're devoted to their development.
He does things so well off platform. Is it even harder for him? I don't want to say break him of the habit of, surviving for another down or throwing the ball away, those kinds of things. Because he was a playmaker, is it tougher to kind of get him to not necessarily buy into that, but to play that way?
Well, I think you look around the league, Tom, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that have always made plays outside the structure of their offense.
Notice the language shift. When asked specifically about Shedeur, Stefanski immediately pivots to talking about our entire rookie class. He can't bring himself to single out Shedeur for praise, even when directly asked about him. But sources say this press conference wasn't Stefanski's idea. This was Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, making it clear to his head coach that he needs to start publicly supporting Shedeur Sanders after weeks of trying to suppress him. Because here's the reality. Andrew Berry's job security is tied to finding a franchise quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders just proved he is that franchise quarterback. So Berry reportedly told Stefanski before this presser, "You're going to acknowledge Shedeur's development, you're going to talk about his progress, and you're going to make it clear that he's our guy moving forward." And that's exactly what Stefanski did, even if he did it in the most reluctant, generic way possible. But then, another reporter asked a crucial follow-up question that really exposed where Stefanski's head is at. They asked, he does things so well off-platform. Is it even harder for him? I don't want to say you break him of the habit, but to get him to survive for another down or throw the ball away, those kinds of things. Because he was a playmaker, is it tougher to kind of get him to not necessarily buy into that, but to play that way? Now, this question is loaded because what the reporter is really asking is, are you trying to coach the playmaking out of Shedeur Sanders? And we've seen this all season. We've watched Stefanski try to turn Shedeur into a game manager instead of embracing his elite off-platform ability. We've seen him call conservative plays, pull Shedeur out for crucial situations, and basically try to suppress the very skills that make Shedeur special.
And you never want to take that away from a player. And Shedeur has a ability to make plays off schedule. So that's something that you certainly want to promote and enhance and get the team playing to that style as well. You also want to make it easy for your quarterback when you can, and when you can get those completions on time and play within the rhythm of the offense. That makes you really difficult to defend as a quarterback. But you never want to take away that ability to make plays off schedule.
But listen to Stefanski's response, and this is where you can hear the influence of Andrew Berry forcing him to change his approach. Well, I think you look around the league and there's a lot of quarterbacks that have always made plays outside the structure of their offense from when they were young to when they get to the pros, and you never want to take that away from a player. You never want to take that away. That's Stefanski being forced to admit that his entire approach to coaching Shedeur has been wrong. Because for months, that's exactly what he's been trying to do, take away Shedeur's playmaking ability and force him into a rigid system. But then Stefanski says something even more revealing. Shedeur has an ability to make plays off schedule, so that's something that you certainly want to promote and enhance and get the team playing to that style as well. Promote and enhance? Y'all, those are not words Kevin Stefanski would use if left to his own devices. That's Andrew Berry's language coming through. That's the GM making it clear to his coach, we're going to build around Shedeur's strengths, not try to suppress them. And notice Stefanski says they want to get the team playing to that style as well. That's code for, we're changing our offensive philosophy to fit Shedeur, not forcing Shedeur to fit our philosophy. That's a massive shift, and it's not coming from Stefanski's own coaching philosophy. It's coming from ownership in the front office realizing they have a potential franchise quarterback and they better not screw it up. But here's where Stefanski reveals the internal conflict he's dealing with. He continues, you also want to make it easy for your quarterback when you can, and when you can get those completions on time and play within the rhythm of the offense, that makes you really difficult to defend as a quarterback. But you never want to take away that ability to make plays off schedule. See what he's doing there? He's trying to balance his natural conservative coaching instincts with the directive from Andrew Berry to let Shedeur be Shedeur. He's saying, yes, we want him to make plays off schedule, but we also want him to play within the system.
System and those type of things, and then you try to start to master the defensive systems. And we've talked a lot. Each week you're going up against a completely different defense with different rules for their coverages, different pressure packages. So we have different rules in our protection. So all of that, I think, for young quarterbacks is really important to continue to develop in those.
That's a coach who's being pulled in two different directions. And sources say Andrew Berry has made it clear which direction the Browns are going, Shedeur's direction. Now, another reporter asked Stefanski about the light bulb moment for rookie quarterbacks when everything starts to click and connect, and Stefanski's answer was very telling. He said, yeah, I do think there's a maturation throughout a rookie's first year, and it definitely starts in the spring and mastering the offensive system and those type of things. And then you try to start to master the defensive systems. And we've talked a lot. Each week you're going up against a completely different defense with different rules for their coverages, different pressure packages. Y'all, he's describing the exact process that Shedeur went through on the sideline for the first 10 games of the season, learning the offensive system, studying different defenses, preparing mentally while not getting reps. And now that Shedeur has finally gotten his chance to play, he's showing that all that preparation was worth it, except he could have been doing it on the field instead of the bench. But here's the kicker. Stefanski ends by saying, but in terms of light turning on, those type of things, I just think he's committed to getting better every single week, and that's what you want. He's committed to getting better every single week. That's the closest Stefanski can bring himself to saying Shedeur Sanders is working his tail off and proving me wrong every single week. But the most explosive moment of the entire press conference came near the end when a reporter asked Stefanski about the criticism he's been facing. And this is where you can really see how much pressure he's under. The reporter said, you're taking a crazy amount of criticism for taking Shedeur off on that 2-point conversion. I know we've talked about this, but I mean, it's like off the charts. Are you aware of it? Are you impervious to it? Do you block it out? Or what's your response? And Stefanski's response was defensive and revealing. Yeah, I mean, I think in my position, Mary Kay, everything you do that doesn't work will be criticized. That's the nature of this beast. We'll constantly try to do what's best for the football team.
Yeah, I think, I'd point to the play that Shedeur had at we had the big interception by Devin, third down. It ends up being an incomplete, but he scrambled around, was looking to make a play. Nobody wiggled open, and he threw the ball away, and we got points out of that. I think that's.
Everything you do that doesn't work will be criticized. Not everything you do, not all coaching decisions, specifically things that don't work. Stefanski knows that taking Shedeur off the field for that 2-point conversion didn't work. He knows it was the wrong decision, and he's admitting, however reluctantly, that the criticism is justified. But notice the last line. We'll constantly try to do what's best for the football team. We'll, not I'll. That's significant because it suggests that the decision-making is no longer just Kevin Stefanski's. It's we, meaning ownership, Andrew Berry, the coaching staff collectively. And sources say Andrew Berry has made it crystal clear to Stefanski what's best for the football team is letting Shedeur Sanders be the starter and building the offense around his strengths. Now there's another layer to this story that's not being discussed enough. Earlier in the press conference, when talking about Caleb Williams and the Bears' offense, Stefanski said this: "He's a really, really good young player. He can make a ton of plays both on schedule and off schedule, has elite arm talent to throw the ball around the field. And then to your point, he's very elusive, extremely elusive. He can get out of the pocket to the left, to the right, vertical in the pocket. He's a hard guy to bring down, and that adds another element to their team." Now, why is that significant? Because Stefanski just described Caleb Williams, the #1 overall pick, using almost the exact same language he used to describe Shedeur Sanders' off-platform ability. Elite arm talent, makes plays on and off schedule, extremely elusive, adds another element. Those same attributes apply to Shedeur, and yet the Bears built their entire offense around maximizing Caleb Williams' strengths, while Kevin Stefanski spent months trying to suppress Shedeur's. That's the difference between an organization that's committed to their young quarterback and one that's fighting against him. And sources say Andrew Berry has been pointing this out to Stefanski. Look at what Chicago is doing with Caleb. That's what we need to do with Shedeur. And that pressure is working. You can hear it in Stefanski's words, even if he's trying to hide it.
Such elusiveness. Can you guys add a little bit more movement into the game plan maybe than you originally intended to with him?
I think there's definitely ways to move the quarterback on schedule and part of your system, and we've certainly done some of that, and you can grow that as well. But I do think it's always going to be a balance of giving the quarterback structure, giving him answers, giving him easy buttons, if you will. But then,
when asked if they can add more movement to the game plan because of Shedeur's elusiveness, Stefanski said, "I think there's definitely ways to move the quarterback on schedule and part of your system, and we've certainly done some of that. And you can grow that as well." You can grow that. That's Stefanski admitting they're going to expand the playbook to feature more of Shedeur's mobility and playmaking, not because Stefanski wants to, but because Andrew Berry is making him. And then Stefanski said something that was almost philosophical. "I do think it's always going to be a balance of giving the quarterback structure, giving him answers, giving him easy buttons, if you will. But then a lot of quarterbacks around the league, and some of the great ones, you see their ability to make plays off schedule when, as Coach Muss would say, when the chalk runs out on the chalkboard. That's really hard. It's a trait that not many people possess." A trait that not many people possess. Stefanski just admitted, however reluctantly, that Shedeur Sanders possesses a rare trait, an elite trait, a trait that separates good quarterbacks from great ones. And Andrew Berry is making sure Stefanski doesn't waste that trait by trying to coach it out of him. But perhaps the most telling moment came when Stefanski was asked about a specific play where Shedeur scrambled around looking to make something happen, nobody got open, and he threw the ball away. Stefanski said, "I think that's good progress for a young quarterback. You have to know that's a fine line of I'm trying to make a play for my football team, and I'm also going to be smart here because I have points. You learn that from playing. You learn that from being in these games, and I think he's making progress there." He's making progress. That's the first time in the entire press conference that Stefanski gave Shedeur specific praise for specific improvement in a specific situation. And you know why? Because Andrew Berry was probably sitting in that building making sure Stefanski said it. Now, let me connect all the dots here, because this story is about way more than just one press conference.
With quarterbacks who make those off-schedule plays you were talking about, sometimes there's some no yes in there.
Yeah.
How do you get comfortable with trusting their instincts?
Yeah, I think I'd point to the play that Shedeur had at the we had the big interception by Devin, third down. It ends up being an incomplete, but he scrambled around, was looking to make a play. Nobody wiggled open, and he threw the ball away, and we got points out of that. I think that's.
What we're witnessing is a power struggle within the Browns organization. On one side, you have Kevin Stefanski, a coach who clearly didn't believe in Shedeur Sanders from day one, who buried him on the depth chart, who tried to suppress his playmaking ability, who took him out for crucial plays even after historic performances. On the other side, you have Andrew Berry, a GM whose job security depends on finding a franchise quarterback, who's now realized that Shedeur Sanders is that franchise quarterback, and who's using his authority to force Stefanski to get on board or get out. And based on this press conference, it's clear which way the power dynamic is shifting. Barry is winning, and Stefanski is being forced to publicly acknowledge what everyone else has known for weeks. Shedeur Sanders is special, and the Browns need to build around him instead of trying to hold him back. Sources say that Barry has made it clear to Stefanski, Shedeur Sanders will start against the Bears. He will start every game after that, and the offensive game plan will be designed around his strengths, his mobility, his off-platform playmaking, his ability to create something out of nothing. And if Kevin Stefanski can't get on board with that, well, Andrew Barry is reportedly ready to find a coach who will. Because at the end of the day, you can replace a coach a lot easier than you can replace a franchise quarterback, and the Browns have finally found their franchise quarterback, despite their head coach's best efforts to prevent it. Shedeur Sanders has proven he belongs. He's made history. He's shown elite traits. He's developed rapidly. And now, thanks to Andrew Barry forcing Kevin Stefanski's hand, he's finally going to get the organizational support he deserves. So here's my question for all of you. Is Kevin Stefanski being forced by Andrew Barry to finally embrace Shedeur Sanders, or is he genuinely changing his approach? Does Stefanski's reluctance to give Shedeur specific credit prove he still doesn't believe in him? And should the Browns fire Stefanski and bring in a coach who will actually build an offense around Shedeur's elite playmaking ability instead of trying to suppress it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this power struggle between Barry and Stefanski is real, and it's happening in real time. If you think Andrew Barry is right to force Stefanski to start Shedeur and build around him, smash that subscribe button, because we're going to keep tracking this developing story. Stefanski admitted you never want to take away Shedeur's off-platform ability, but that's exactly what he's been doing all season until Barry stepped in. Let's go.